Today, we are building 2 entire towns on our peninsula, and we will more than double our population. The danger is that this peninsula is one giant cul-de-sac. All traffic must go in and out from the same area. I'm College Builder, and this is my tropical series, Marathon Cove, where we explore design ideas and the region's growth through time-lapse videos in Cities Skylines 2. The difficulty begins with building 2 new towns on the peninsula, Cape Vista and Mission Beach. Our first road project will be completing Oceanfront Drive. Since the peninsula is one giant cul-de-sac, we need multiple ways in and out to avoid a traffic disaster. The train line is our public transportation route, and the divided boulevard straddling the train line is another. Oceanfront Drive is the third route. Let's go ahead and make the central boulevard one way on each side of the train line. The end of the peninsula is going to be one of the most important parts of this development, and we want to bring together Oceanfront Drive with our central boulevard in a functional yet elegant way. If you have been watching my videos, you know I am a proponent of contextual design that takes account of the landscape, in this case, our coastline. I want the connection between Oceanfront Drive to our central boulevard to reflect the curve of the coast. The very end of the peninsula is the town of Cape Vista, which we will build around a small terminal train station. Hopefully, the trains will keep cars off the street. Let's make the area around the station unique with our first custom parking road in the Road Builder mod. We want some parking on either side of the station. Using the 45-degree angled parking on one side of the road will look great. Notice that we have a lane transition issue. We can align the lanes using the upgrade tool with all snapping off. Building the other side, we will see the same lane alignment issue, which we can fix. Let's see if the parking roads provide enough parking and turn off the default roadside parking on these other roads. We should clean up these intersections by creating a road transition segment. To build a transition segment, we can double-click with a road to add a node. Using the upgrade tool, we can then change the road type for our transition segment. This makes for a much better connection to our parking road. Building out our road network in Cape Vista, we can emphasize the curve of the coast in Oceanfront Drive with this circle park. The end of the peninsula is going to be very expensive land with luxury homes, and I love the idea that the road layout can create a focal point while also having contextual awareness. Now let's create a traffic calming transition segment by the train station where we will have heavy pedestrian traffic. A choker or pinch point is where the road narrows, which in real life forces cars to slow down. We will repeat this on the other side of the train station near our parking roads. The Move It mod can help us get the length of these transition segments just right. Let's create the residential streets of Cape Vista. We should be careful not to intersect Oceanfront Drive or our Central Boulevard too many times. These are both important roads. The Central Boulevard is an arterial that connects directly to the highway. Intersections along it should be minimal. Some of our road layout will be grid-like, but this is ultimately going to have low residential density homes. We do not need Manhattan-style grids. Before we get too far with our road network, let's add parking to Oceanfront Drive using the Road Builder mod. This road hugs the ocean and so should have lots of parking for the beaches we will eventually build. It is also an important collector, so let's create some balance by putting parking down the ocean-facing side only. We also want to create transition segments so that the parking doesn't go right up to the intersection. When building roads with medians, sometimes you have to rebuild them to eliminate extra nodes and get them to look just right. I won't show you every single place I add the parking, but I hope you agree that putting this parking all the way along the ocean creates something really special. We can also add our elementary and high schools. Putting these in before our zoning will ensure we have enough room. Let's use a custom parking road we created in the last episode, adding in a transition segment to the intersection. I usually avoided many road segments in CS1 since it could confuse the AI and create traffic congestion, but so far in CS2, I have not noticed any issues. We don't want any parking near the rail crossing. That seems quite dangerous. We can finish off the neighborhood roads in Cape Vista before moving on to Mission Beach. Our second peninsula community is the town of Mission Beach. It also has a train station at its center. Using Road Builder Mod, we will build a different type of parking road. This time, the parking lane will be separated by a median to not slow down traffic, and we will use 90-degree parking spots. Once again, we will use a mini transition segment. Mission Beach has a central square right next to the train station, which will be the civic heart of this community. Right in the middle of the peninsula, let's build a major custom intersection to connect Oceanfront Drive with our central boulevard. We will start with the one-lane highway to create turning lanes. We will remove traffic lights and crosswalks. We will use a 4-lane road to create a specialized transition segment so that we have dedicated turning lanes. Using Road Builder, we can remove parking and narrow the sidewalks. We can use the Road Builder to turn the highway lane into a regular city street with sidewalks. The Road Properties menu lets us give it a normal street speed limit, add zoning, and have pipes underneath it. We can also add it to the street menu and not the highway menu. We want all these lanes to line up nicely for this intersection to easily handle all the traffic. We will also make sure the parking along Oceanfront Drive has been added. We can now fill in the neighborhood roads near this junction. Let's shift our road layout again in order to create more variety. The grid in this neighborhood somewhat follows the angle of the coastline. We will continue to limit intersections with our central boulevard. Speaking of the central boulevard, I would love to have a better name for it. Please share some suggestions. Let's add a large post office since this part of town has no postal services. We can place a clinic, a fire station, and a small police station in Cape Vista to also service the entire peninsula. We are nearly done with the road layout. Those of you with sharp eyes will have noticed that I am using several custom roads we built in earlier episodes. Many of these have grass and trees built in to restrict parking and create that quiet neighborhood feel. Let's be sure to create walking paths to help keep cars off the street. The big test of our Peninsula Challenge will come when we fill all the zoning in. It's now time for our 5th custom parking road. This is for the beach area on the inside of the peninsula. It's a small road with 90-degree parking on one side. I love that we can make a parking road like this curved and hug the natural beach landscape. We will also use another custom transition segment between the parking road and the intersection. And now, our last neighborhood road layout. This will complete almost all of our road work for the peninsula. From here, we can jump in and start building commercial and residential zones and put our peninsula design to the test. Let's just finish the last stretch of parking on Oceanfront Drive. Now the moment of truth. In Cape Vista, we will select each building of our town center using both North American and European varieties. We want some density with mixed-zone buildings, commercial on bottom and residential on top. The goal is for this to feel like a very upscale town center. It's the kind of town with a zoning code, so all of the buildings look similar. Using the Recolor mod, we will create a color template that feels appropriate for Southern California. Our schools, police, and fire will also get the color treatment. We may need to darken a few buildings to get the right look. Now, let's repeat the process on the other side of the train station. I can imagine tourists coming in here on the train for the day to walk around and do some shopping in this vibrant and beautiful hub, grabbing lunch at an outdoor, upscale seafood restaurant, and then going for a walk on the beach. We will place a hotel down, although the game mechanic around hotels and tourists is not really working yet. We will see if a business moves into this vacant hotel. This gives us a nice commercial core for Cape Vista. We might as well recolor the train station so that it fits in with the vibe. For residential zones, we are going entirely with beachfront properties of both European and North American types. The entire peninsula is surrounded with beaches. These homes should fit the theme. We will alternate zone types so that we get a mix of assets. As much as possible, we will also create variety with lot depth and width so that different assets spawn. We've already added over 1,000 new residents. I love watching them drive in on Oceanfront Drive and park in our custom spots. Of course, we have a lot more to do to put this giant cul-de-sac to the test. As we zone in these neighborhoods, we will try to keep zoning off of the central boulevard. In general, you should avoid putting housing on your arterials and collectors, at least in this type of build. Notice that we are leaving gaps here and there. We will eventually go back and fill these in with trees. The time-lapse doesn't quite show you, but every other house is a different beachfront type, so that we don't have duplicate houses next to each other. You can see when we switch types by looking in the zoning box. We've now added nearly 2,000 new residents since starting this episode. I've definitely noticed an increase in traffic on our central boulevard. Let's hope the design is handling the traffic. It's time to work on the downtown of Mission Beach. Just like the town of Cape Vista, this town center will consist of mixed-zone, medium-density buildings of both North American and European varieties. We will select different buildings so that it has a different look and feel from Cape Vista. These buildings are a bit bigger, since this is the middle of the peninsula. Mission Beach is going to have more residents and so needs more density. Oh boy, our parking is already filling up. We will also select a different color scheme for this center, since the town has its own zoning codes. The mix of North American and European assets gives this a historic feel. I think this town center is lovely. We've now added over 3,300 new citizens to our peninsula. Let's dive into the remaining residential neighborhoods to really push the design and see if the road system can handle the traffic without creating congestion. Part of the challenge here is that we are zoning directly onto our central boulevard in each of the town centers. This will make traffic heavy as you move through the core of Mission Beach. We will repeat our pattern of zoning in these neighborhoods, aiming to keep a variety of assets and to reduce repetition. We have now added 4,000 residents, just about doubling the size of our population. With this increase, we are exceeding school capacity. It's time to add an elementary school to Mission Beach. We also need more jobs, so let's add a large office signature building. This company loved the beauty of the peninsula and wanted to set up their global headquarters near Marathon University to attract the recent computer science graduates. Traffic is definitely increasing. We can fill in our last few neighborhoods. This little one by the curved road will be a perfect beach community once we add the beachfront in the next episode. Some of this residential zoning is on our central boulevard. This is not ideal as it could slow traffic down, but we will see how it goes. We can add these final homes, but with a focus of keeping zoning off the arterial and off of Oceanfront Drive. I sure hope these main roads are handling our traffic. We are about to find out. Let's also restrict parking on these intersections around the rail line. We will add some pinch points around the busy streets in the center of Mission Beach, creating our mini transition segments. With over 4,600 new residents added, we are also in need of more jobs. We can quickly add some industrial zones. The challenge here is that the industry is all the way outside of the peninsula, which means people will have to go in and out on the giant cul-de-sac to get to work. Also, the train does not go to this area. We will see what happens once the jobs are in and the Sims commute to work. We've built some industrial buildings, our first rock quarry, and also our first forestry area. It looks like we have successfully completed the Peninsula Challenge. Traffic is looking really good and seems to be distributed across the Central Boulevard and Oceanfront Drive. At the moment, we don't see any bottlenecks, but it will be good to keep an eye on it. Our rail line is getting some use. We definitely see passengers getting on and off, walking around the town squares. The region of Marathon Cove is coming together so nicely. Marathon University stands out as an anchor at the back of the cove, between our communities on the mainland and those out on the peninsula. We are also managing traffic well, so far. But we also have a lot more to do. In the next episode, we will need to fill in the empty part of the very end of the peninsula in Cape Vista. This will be very special, and I can't wait to show it to you. We also have more detailing to do around these little towns. But what else does this region need? A golf course, an airport, a seaport, maybe more industry. There is so much more we could do, and I would love to hear your suggestions. I am truly so grateful that you have watched here until the end. If you are new, please consider subscribing. And if you like the video, it would mean a lot to me. And until next time, happy building.